Vocabio. Master English your way.
That we're discussing are quite frightening, but he emphasizes that the book is an...
He's become something deeply strange and frightening and violent, and I think that what will happen...
Of feeling lonely, sad or frightened, I find myself crooning hymns.
Lead to kind of frightened self-censorship, which is a threat to public discourse. And
when I was writing a book called Nothing to be Frightened of, which is about family and death, he said exactly...
Creativity to our projects. That's what we want to capitalize on. What you see here, you can kind of think of it as like a mood board.
We humans have figured out a way to capitalize on this elephant dung. For example,
be part of that still. So you can kind of capitalize on it, and by being part of that conversation, you can ensure that conversation...
If you've got an industry that is that well capitalized and that determined to keep culture war alive...
Social media, so you've got lots of capitalized political rants like this. My grandson forgot to call me.
Supposed to minimize or even avoid the pain of heartbreak.
Very efficient tax. It really minimizes distortion. And then you can go, oh, if we're worried about...
If we do share our wins, we minimize the amount of hours and effort it took. Or we...
And this is not to minimize the problems we have. I think the elephant...
Perpetrators or potential perpetrators to minimize and try and eliminate the...
My company that I started with Rob Moore, Psycom Media, there's a couple other guys in
hundreds, the debilitating impact of how self-doubt robs people of the joy of living and contributing.
When you enter down the road of creating music with computers, it can just rob you of your humanity in a whisk.
Again, an independent body, I'm sorry to disappoint you, Robert, shows that economic growth is down 4% as a result of these.
Robbed me of my money, time, family.
Myself, so I might even be able to complete her thought.
Yeah, go on, I bet you can.
In a country where over 100 languages are spoken.
I was in a complete state of dark depression. And then for me, taking a...
Protect others, even those that are complete strangers. So they will engage in actions that...
I'm sure there's trade-offs there. Plus you have a complete disparate disciplines here. I'm sure you have special...
A couple of complete control freaks about everything. He would say...
Diversifying our thought and how we accept and work with writers of...
A real threat to you individually, and I accept that is... I mean, it isn't as remote as...
Sovereign states since 1991, and Russia accepted that for a very long time. So...
We're going to have to accept higher taxes. And the important point there is we.
Right? And that's not always accepted within a business environment. So that's one.
Calm. I vividly recall the last night my dad was alive.
I think it was in 2008, if I recall correctly, Middlesbrough were the only team with a gambling sponsor on it.
Being walked on Clapham Common, if I recall, Will. So I think he'll have lots to say. And then
they repeatedly recall memories of their lost loved ones.
Into the WTO, let's recall that part of American policy for decades was about
suit. She's here to help recruit a new generation of astronauts. For the shuttle, NASA has recruited space. The second reason is that NASA only recruits military test pilots as astronauts.
Where I had spent years recruiting young employees who other pharmaceutical companies would have...
Being exposed to, if not directly recruited by, white supremacists. And if they have never been...
Entrepreneurs should be informed about, do you want to be regarded like...
From time to time to keep you informed on the global economy during these rather tumultuous times.
So deeply informed by sense of how you might or might not be able to sustain that.
Up to the gallery, I am informed that there are people there, despite the blazing lights. Is there someone
that comes at us about any issue? We should try to inform ourselves better, and we should take more ownership, I think.
Don't eat with people you wouldn't starve with.
kilos in detention. Like, they were literally starving. Like, people died of pretty much starvation and
cordoning off the area, not allowing starving people to escape.
The tumour, and so areas get completely starved of oxygen. And the problem when you starve,
but it is sick and starving, and if temperatures stay too high for too
that doesn't try to cater towards the rest of the world, but doing it in a way that...
So politicians ignore their views and cater only to the extremes.
Pantry with snacks, catering lunch, bringing in food trucks to the office, or even...
everything to sound bites, and I think the technologies don't cater really for nuance.
It's a website over 23 years old to cater for disabled people either. I actually...
afraid with it, you don't know how to handle it. And the fear is just then, it grows and it grows and grows, and then suddenly...
Happy with the way the EU handled the COVID epidemic. The EU has proved divided and
where decisions were made about how Facebook was going to handle it. It felt worthy of a book, and it felt like a...
Seeing the real differences we have, how to handle them, it will involve global regimes.
That they were approaching the truth about things and getting a handle on how things really are.
Fit, and he went down and started injecting people. So he injects the first guy, and then he injects, he's wiping.
Unbelievable life. But also, you inject a 10% chance that he gets...
Folded variants of this protein are injected into the guts of susceptible rodents. It
past and to inject urgency into its continuation. I wonder if you could...
They're going to assume this is a developing tadpole, and they injected this voltage dye, which converts voltage.
Gaps and things that are excluded or not addressed. That's definitely something that you can do better.
We need to address that. We need to ensure that we're not excluding parts of our population from...
the working class, which had largely been excluded from the democratic process.
And that therefore Muslims were excluded because countries had been created for them.
And we, meaning the West, I exclude myself from that. We thought this...
I'll give one example. We've recently installed solar in our facilities in India. Solar in India.
It's also the week when the United Kingdom installed a new Prime Minister. Liz Truss, the former Foreign Secretary.
Individual women. So we have a picture of an install shot as well, for those of you who didn't see the exhibition. So each...
Solar allows people who can install solar for themselves, like renters and condo or co-op.
To that satellite while the adapter ring is installed. Both astronauts.
The two spacewalkers are literally...
Not to be anywhere crouching below extinction's out from the old fool.
Because it puts you in a defensive crouch, and therefore you don't need to sort of assess your own wrongdoing or your own...
On that had led to the resignation of Tracy Crouch. I want to slightly disavow that Tracy Crouch...
And there is an adult there crouching in the corner with an EpiPen, but...
Right, so it has to crouch before it can go beneath, or...
Evidence that are perhaps more scattered, but nevertheless very reliable.
I have 260 stores scattered all around Brazil, and Brazil is a big country, and I like...
Out here, people would scatter alone with their spouses.
Spaceflight.
Stuff like this scatters. It's boiling hot, it's moving at 900.
That are called islets of Langerhans, scattered like an archipelago in the pancreas.
Because even with all those huge things going on, this consumes a lot of energy and a lot of debations
to date, and who are looking to consume much larger amounts of energy because of the prosperity.
Now everybody has a smartphone, and everybody consumes information mostly
where whenever it's produced to whatever is consumed. I think you have seen right now the transfer.
Everyone I've talked to says you were just consumed with thoughts of sex during puberty.
Or what if we do ever figure out how to depart from our pale blue dot? You can rest assured, dictionary of sounds at their birth ends, and so we departed, and 1 month later the pack arrived and the
Now, Denny was one of the most optimistic.
Suffered that for years.
Well, Mr. Clark, maybe a short question. Do we pay MPs?
Ago. The human species is departing from Africa. And during this
and people in public housing had the power to evict tenants who allow people with criminal records who even...
Or our lights turned off, or we got evicted. And we got evicted, sometimes we lived in these small apartments that...
They barricaded a place and the teenagers were evicted, and the teenagers decided to fight back.
Whom he's with, that they basically evict him, and he goes through this complicated line of route.
She was sort of evicted from kind of, let's say, like liberal.
Vocabio, available in Google Play. Download, discover, improve your English.